let's see, Christian Gillibrand, for instance, clears the three polls of at least 1% bar just as surely as Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, but her average is much lower. Let's see. Oh yeah, they got Jay Inslee, John Hickenlooper, two more white guys I forgot about. All right, so before we continue the analysis, I just want to set the picture straight here. People who have qualified to be in the debates right now with donor and poll requirements are Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Amy Klobuchar, Beto O'Rourke, Pete Buttigieg, and Andrew Yang. Qualified with donors but don't have high enough poll numbers, which is pretty crazy, is Tulsi Gabbard. She's the only one. Qualified with polls, we have Cory Booker. These people just don't have enough donations. We have Cory Booker, Julian Castro, Christian Gillibrand, John Hickenlooper, John Delaney, Jay Inslee, and Tim Ryan. And not currently qualified, Eric Swalwell, Marianne Williamson, and Seth Moulton, and as well as Wayne Messam. You may not even know who those people are. I don't blame you. Probably don't even know. So, yeah, they're not going to be probably make it into the debate stage. Hopefully just weed down the field a little bit. But, yeah, so those are the people. But that's pretty much how it knows. This puts the DNC and anyone who plans to vote not Trump in 2020 in a pretty tough spot. So you got the shameless image promoters at the bottom of the pack, most of whom are currently running lackluster, pretty bad campaigns, but aren't worthy of the time and money that would cost to get them on stage. But thanks to the DNC's strange rules, many of them are technically on the list for the debate. So you got people like the DNC may have to actually winnow some people down, add some further criteria as the debate approach, and possibly God forbid, more candidates join the race. So, yeah, you got people like, do people really want to see John Delaney in the race? Like, I mean, I guess if you had right now, it is, you got unique donations. You got, apparently, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people who could be in the debates. With poll and donor, bars cross, but it's just very interesting to see how they're going to winnow that down, because it just seems to be a little bit too broad. If 20 candidates qualified, the DNC said it would prioritize those who met both donor threshold and the polling threshold. If more winnowing is needed, polling averages will come into play, and that's where candidates could really be in trouble. Yeah, it does seem like people like John Hickenlooper and Jay Inslee may have to skate into a debate where they have, by all appearances so far, nothing really to add. Jay Inslee may be better on climate change, though, but unfortunately, we don't have Mike Gravel's teen-led insurgent campaign to make it into debates for the sole purpose of yelling about the U.S.'s disastrous foreign policy. It's not looking great. The Times didn't even mention him as part of their calculus, but yeah, just to clarify here, those people who I mentioned who are just qualified with either polls or qualified with either donors, they're going to be in the debate. So people like Kamala, Tulsi, Castro, Booker, Delaney, Hickenlooper, Gillibrand, they're all in the debate, as well as Inslee and Ryan. They are going to have to. That's where they're in danger. If the DNC does decide to winnow the groups down, maybe even take just people with qualified with poll and donor requirements if they get prioritized. So yeah, that's going to be the problem. I mean, honestly, this system, when it first came out, I thought, like, it's not as bad. I've seen the DNC do way, 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 way worse, especially to progressive candidates. Like, they could say the polling average over the donation average, because progressive candidates are likely to better get really a better rule system. I really don't know what he could have done. So, but, like, I mean, credit to the DNC here, but they're going to have a tough decision on their hands. But still, the DNC, it'll be interesting to see who they pick at random. It's like when your teacher group generates the partnerships on the smartboard or whatever, or it goes to a website, random team generator. It's going to be very interesting to see like what kind of pairs they could come up with. Biden, Bernie go head to head. That's all going to be very interesting stuff. And yeah, I'm kind of waiting. Very anticipating to see some of the fights that they get into and how Bernie Sanders is going to handle it, especially how Joe Biden is going to handle it in terms of maybe going after progressive candidates, because he's been very much more willing to go for the jugular, him and at least his side, his kind of a more corporatist side than Bernie has. He said, let's stay out of it. We don't want anyone accusing us of running a bad campaign. So that's what he's really tried to do so far, and credit to him for that. But if things get a little hairy, he cannot be afraid to go for the jugular, because I think that's where he needs to really distinguish himself. So I think he'll be able to do that. So that's the good news. Newsflash continues right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Newsflash. We got a great week ahead of you on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. New episodes of The List, The Wake Up, and Newsflash all coming this week. We've got The Wake Up for you Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as we always do. And coming up, we got a midweek recap of an incredible Game of Thrones episode coming around Wednesday for you with a special guest on The List. Wow, I'm not giving anything away, but we'll save that for The List. Whew, gotta say. What did we say to God of Death? Anyway, we have another new episode of Newsflash, of course, coming your way Thursday for the middle of the week episode. But now, let's get back to the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there is some very rare good news coming out of the Lone Star State. Pretty exciting stuff. Marijuana reform appears to be coming. Texas House right now is set to debate a bill this afternoon to lower the penalties for marijuana possession, according to the Dallas Morning News. As initially written, House Bill 63 would drop legal penalty for those charged with possessing an ounce or less of weed. In its place, the bill proposed a simple $250 fine. Not the perfect solution. Obviously, you want to get to legalization expungement eventually, but it's very interesting to see and wondering why they are really trying to go so why they're trying to back off this weed thing a little bit, because I don't know if you know, like Texas, it's a pretty damn red state, because we didn't Beto O'Rourke doesn't represent all of Texas. I know we'd like him to, but he is Texas is a very red state, very crazy, very culturally conservative. Same time people be like, the devil's lettuce. We can't be doing that. We can't be doing that with the devil's lettuce. But all these like old 1970s names for marijuana. But anyway, it's very interesting to see why they're doing that. I wouldn't be surprised if some sort of like monetary interest or monetary gain involved, but it's happening. It's very much is happening. Legalization, expungement, regulation, obviously a better answer. But in a state where half of drug possession arrests are for marijuana, according to the Texas Department of Public Safety, it could have been a bit of a baby step in the right direction. It would be a boon to Texas residents given how strict and regressive the system is. Just last month, Waco School District Superintendent A. Marcus Nelson was forced to resign after he was arrested by a Waco officer after he admitted during a traffic stop that a friend had given him 2 joints to help him deal with lower back pain. In theory, under HB 63, Nelson could have walked away from the traffic spot with just a fine, his job, and no mark on the record. Unfortunately, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, here comes the resistance, and uber-conservative state senate stands staunchly against anything moving in the direction of legalization. But the bill's Democratic sponsor, Joe Moody, said he was forced to redraw the bill to make a half measure of that baby step. Little baby, a baby step towards a baby step is pretty much what it is. That's how we take it with Texas, very, very slowly. So we're looking forward to some of that possibly good news coming out of Texas. All right, so interesting stuff going on with the Bernie Sanders campaign today. They are looking ahead to we're looking ahead to the possibility of campaigns in the future. It's going to be so interesting to see what lessons that especially progressive candidates are going to take from this campaign, which is probably going to be one of the biggest campaigns run of that vein ever. So much grassroots support and so much organizing going around, and that's the big theme. Like, they're looking ahead to organizing. So the Bernie Sanders campaign kicked off its massive volunteer program this week by holding nearly 5,000 house parties across the country and unveiling a new organizing app that gives campaign supporters a way to share political information on friends, family, and neighbors. So yeah, try to get everyone on the side, get everyone together to vote for Bernie here, folks. Yeah, so it's a very effective strategy, and probably not come up with it by him, but someone who's probably a little more tech savvy. I don't know, but it's all going to be. It's incredibly interesting to see how that is going to take shape, and probably it's going to have a pretty big impact on the way campaigns are run in the future. Because if you can get that kind of support, if you really, because I don't know if you know, but canvassing, knocking on doors is the most effective political strategy to take. It can really, really, really work. And if he's able to get that done, it could be really revolutionary. Like he's talking about continuing the political revolution, that could really work. So yeah, Sanders, according to, along with campaign manager Faiz Shakir and campaign co-chair Nina Turner, addressed supporters through a pre-recorded broadcast that was streamed at the parties. So let's do it. Let's run a historic grassroots campaign, Sanders told supporters. And when we do that, the 1% can spend all the money they want, but we're gonna beat them. The campaign's new organizing tool called Burn helps volunteers track and potential supporters and voters, allowing them to log the name and background of anyone they talk to, from friends and family members to a stranger on the street. This app will help volunteers get an idea of how much support, I think it's very crucial, how much support that they need, and areas that they're still lacking, areas that they have strong, how many doors they knocked on, what the people who answered those doors said. I think it'd be very effective, very cool stuff from the Bernie Sanders campaign here. So, yeah, on a friend-to-friend note, supporters are asked to add the name, city, and state of everyone they know, information that is then matched to their voter record. The app also has the person's level of support, union membership, and other candidates they might vote for. Some critics have called the app invasive. I guess it is a little bit of a privacy concern. I guess I could say that, but I mean, if you have it well encrypted, but much of the information the app requests is publicly available. Critics say that having data neatly compiled while not giving people a way to opt out of it presents safety concerns. I mean, voter rolls, here's the thing. Voter rolls are public, and Democratic Party has long been aggregating additional information about voters to aid with fundraising and turnout operations. So that's just the way it works with organizing. Like, people who use those strategies, they know how to call people, that's like to make things more efficient. And a lot of this is, again, it's publicly available anyway. It's just never really been harnessed in a way that's so publicly available to so many people who then make the move to organize it. I think that's really what's scaring a lot of people out there when Bernie Sanders comes to town. So, yeah, that's all very interesting stuff. So, some Bay Area Muslims in Oakland at a house party, all the way to a fun little house party crashed by Faiz Shakir, Bernie Sanders' campaign manager. So yeah, the Vermont senator has been leading almost every other presidential candidate in early fundraising, another indicator of his campaign strength. The first quarter, he raised more than $18.2 million with 900,000 donations from 525,000 individual donors. Only Vice President Joe Biden has had a larger first-day primary fundraising haul, raising $6.3 million the first 24 hours of launching his campaign. He had far fewer donors and also had a massive fundraiser that we covered on the last show with corporate lobbyists and GOP donors at the home of Comcast executive David Cohen. And yes, for those who are wondering, that does factor into it. It's not just a small dollar donation count. So, yeah, it's easy to get money from David Cohen and call it a day there. But Bernie, he's staying away from that stuff. So give him credit for that. All right, we now turn, ladies and gentlemen, to Colorado. Ask your average American socialist about what they think about the state of the U.S. politics, and the response you'll likely get is somewhere between cautious optimism and soul-crushing misery. That isn't stopping the GOP, though. However, from portraying socialism as the foremost opposition to their deeply unpopular programs.